Hello. Welcome to the Learning Tree Book Club's regular monthly meeting. We read first Saturdays for 1 hour and a half. And Vicky, you gonna go first?
Yeah, I go.
Okay.
Let me say, hey, mother.
What's the name? What you? Clark's
It's
there
called.
at the crossword.
Hold up. The name of the book is called Crossroads at Clarksdale: The Black Freedom Struggle in the Mississippi Delta.
Okay.
Washington was far away, defining a different post-war Delta. As post-war began to serve around local Negroes in the early 50s became more acceptable, and expressing dissatisfaction as with status quo. The change was significant because as many Negroes as it has been willing to accept conditions rather than question them and gamble on the reprisal. Aaron Henry, Fire Ever Burning. The only thing I knew about the NAACP was that it's something that is supposed to make these Mississippian white folks, supposed to make these Mississippi white folks act like human beings. And I want to be part of that monster. Vera Page, Struggle of Struggles. In Mississippi, the violence of white supremacists stained the lands as in other places in Mississippi, other places in America. The brutal murder of 14-year-old Emmett Till in Money, Mississippi, August 1955, embodied then and transcended the violence of the crime. The crime stunned even, I'm sorry, the crime stunned even those who had grown accustomed to everyday white terror. It also galvanized generations in Mississippi beyond. One of those responding to the violence was Aaron Henry, president of the Clarksdale-Coahoma County branch of the National Association of Advancement of Colored People, NAACP. The Coahoma County branch found itself at the railhead of activities relating to the murder of Emmett Till in 1955. Henry recalled members of the NAACP leadership, most of whom were not normally found in the fields, and donned overalls to comb the area looking for the witnesses of the murder and the theft of the cotton gin that pinned him down in the watery resting place. Henry remembered, we all knew we moved under a cloud and moved cautiously. He told the interviewer in 1969, in trying to find out the witnesses who saw what happened the day after we went into the courtroom. that we went to find, when we went into the cotton field, chopping cotton, hands on cotton, hands with cotton picking, and the hands of wandering through the crowds, just to find what we could about the Emmett Till. The organization also provided passages for the witnesses after the trial. As Norman, as a northern journalist, as a I can't even say it, as northern journalists descended on the Delta, reporting to a rapt national audience on the aliens backward backward conditions of the post-war Mississippi. One of the state native daughters came back home. Vera Mae Piggy, and recently returned to Clarksdale after studying cosmetology, and came back to and journeyed to Sumner, the site of the trial, and about 30 miles from Clarksdale, to observe and offer support to fearful locals. I was in touch with the post people at the trial, was over when they stay in a little town like Sumner. And they would come to Clarksdale to go to other places and stay. Some wouldn't tell anyone where they were. Others were just afraid. Piggy remembered. Others were just as afraid. Piggy remembered. They were Black people, and many wasn't like they were afraid of white people, but a crowd coming in their white sheets and to kill somebody like these people that killed Emmett Till. Henry and Piggy were symbolic of the post-war grassroots Black freedom movements. Virtually known in the national stage were the two who were devoted at the greater part of the adult lives in the struggle of racial justice in Mississippi. Yet Henry and Piggy, the organizer, sustained the local movements in Clarksdale, were not simply local representatives of the national mass movement. They were in complex ways architects of the movement foundation, and the kind of people without whom mass uprising against Jim Crow would have been impossible. Aaron Henry, the most celebrated civil rights leader in Clarksdale, was born in Coahoma County of Dublin in 1922. His father, studied shoe carpenter courses at Tuskegee Institution, enabling him to work at his trade in the county. His mother, Mattie, was a member of the Women's Society of Christian Services, one of the biracial organizations in Mississippi. With no Black public schools available, boarding at Coahoma County Agricultural High School was the only option. While there, Henry became involved with the NAACP. He credited one of the civic teachers, in particular, Miss Thelma K. Shelby, newly graduated from Dillard University, where she had joined the NAACP as a major influence in his and his growing of political sensibilities. He spent extra time with her seniors, she spent extra time with her seniors, assigning Richard Wright's Black Boy, The Native Son, and Uncle Tom's Cabin, speaking French, and then sharing her indignation with the state of the racial affairs. She talked to the total incoming classes into taking a junior membership in NAACP. Serving in the U.S. Army during World War II, he sought out the NAACP as he struggled between discrimination in the military and the patriotism of Black soldiers. He felt and exhibited through the services and sacrifices. Henry grew impatient with the segregation facilities and the blatant racism. On the ship, the Army had segregated movie showings. White movies on one night and Black movies on another night. Henry recalled a particular honorary chaplain in Honolulu, Hawaii. While preaching, he described the weather, raining pitchforks and nigger babies. The Black congregation walked out and never returned, preferring services about them and never returned, preferring to attend services in town. A year later, Henry tried to talk to the fellow servicemen about Marcus Garvey, the Jamaican-born Black nationalist, Pan-Africanist, who founded the Universal Negro Improvement Association in 1914. But hardly anyone else whose company he knew was talking about. They seemed only versed in the contribution of the Booker T. Washington and George Washington Carver, he noted. They had not heard of Benjamin Banneker. Benjamin Banneker, 1731 to 1866, African-American mathematician and astronomer. Harriet Tubman, Nat Turner, members of the great Americans who were Black and who helped to shape the destiny of the country. They were obviously never exposed to someone like Thelma Shelby, the classroom. He returned to Mississippi open-eyed, politically prepared to tackle Jim Crow. Henry used the veteran benefit provided through the GI Bill and one of the few post-war pieces of legislation, federal funding that trickled down to the hands of African Americans, designed to award the veterans of their services. The GI Bill provided tuition, sustenance, pay, and it educated new generation of Southern Black men, elevating them out of the narrow occupational niche available to Blacks and the region. Henry enrolled in Xavier University Pharmacy School in New Orleans. Determined to be his own boss, he served as student president for 2 years, and in 1948, meeting of the U.S. National Student Association, founded by the veterans of 1947. He met and established a relationship with Allard Lowenstein, who would erupt the political scene in Mississippi and force the 60s. He graduated, became an independent employed pharmacist in Clarksdale, a man whose middle-class status had been forged with government assistance. In the incoming years, he would challenge Mississippi and make the kind of opportunity he enjoyed open to all. He was a writer, activist, Constance Curry, putting in the conservative militant, able to work his way up the social political ladder while fighting all the way in order to improve that and expand its range. Vera Mae Piggy was born Vera Berry, the daughter of a sharecropper from Tutwiler in Tallahatchie County. The whiter Berry, father of the burnt Vera, brother AA, succumbed to the alcoholism and wayside lust and led him to abandon the family. The mother, Lucy Wright Berry, spent a lot of her time working with the farm raising livestock, growing stables, vegetables, and exercising her impressive voice, church choir, and instilling her two children the fear of God and solid work ethic. Young Vera absorbed both mother and religious faith in her strength, especially in the way she stood up for herself in the hostile segregation South. At a time when Black people tended to take things off white folks, her mother had once delivered a Black hand whipping to a white boy who continuously and contemptuously bumped her with his bike. The blow knocked him plumb off his bike. Those opportunities assert one of humanity and not having painfully stripped away. Were her Lucy Berry, like many Mississippians, unable to outwardly resist Jim Crow, most of the time found alternatives, and particularly through spiritualists' voice and discontentment at ease, everyday pressure, discontentment at ease, everyday pressure. By example, her mother resourcefully and endured influence of her daughter, who grew up as fast as he helped to run the household, unable to further her 9th grade. At the Roland Ward School in Tallahatchie County, she married Paul Page. When she was 15 and he was 18, I accept my cap. He married Paul Page when she was 15 and he was 18. I set my cap for Paul Page the very first day I laid eyes on him. Their love survived the family's objections. Their daughter, Mary Jane, arrived a year later, but their second daughter died as 3 weeks after her birth. The following year, Piggy recalled traveling to Memphis from Clarksdale with baby Mary Jane in the mid-1940s. Excuse me. I had to stand on the bus where I had paid up fare. It's approximately 100 miles there. Approximately 100 miles there. There were seats available on the bus. But because I was a Black woman, I had to stand there and hold my baby. Worried by the journey and assaulted by the injustice, she never forgot that day. The Piggies wanted to improve her life chances and not dependent on the land and landowners as her parents had been. They moved briefly to Clarksdale, Chicago, so that Vera could study cosmetology and have sustaining trade. Preferring to live closer to the family, they returned to Clarksdale, honing her skills at a beauty salon. As her meticulously and the leadership acumen impressed on the shop owner as her and salon, her meticulously and leadership acumen approached the shop owner, Lily Farr, who upon moving to California because of declining health, prompted promotion of the manager of the business, Piggy, whose occasion had learned how to run the business, then located at 407 Ashton Avenue. Piggy remembered how far took me to the side and says that if anything happened to her, she wanted me to have the shop. When she passed, Farr's husband honored the wife's wishes and sold the business to Piggy. In his way, she became an independent business owner. Each in his own way, Henry and Piggy helped birth the modern Black freedom movement in Coahoma County. As time moved on, because of how they contrasting figures whose life trajectory was bespoke of the mass movement, distance, and made organization both leadership styles and distinct general spheres in which they were operating were crucial to the movement lifeblood in Coahoma County throughout the South. This chapter focuses on Henry and Piggy was a way in Chicago for much of the county's early organizing, returning to 1955 and joining him in the center stage. In the meantime, 4 years before the Till murder, in 1951, another act of racial violence had spurred the founding of the Clarksdale-Coahoma County branch of the NAACP. The rape of Leola Tate and Earlene Mills, 2 young African-American women from Clarksdale, like the later lynching of Jim Hill, galvanized the local community and had transformed ad hoc disparate relationship to Jim Crow and early stirrings of the movement. The perpetuator of the assaults walked away free gift to white men, and was all too common in Southern justice. That crime changed the fate of Coahoma County forever, amplified rich history and local organizing and activism that already existed despite living under callous thumb of Jim Crow. African Americans in the immediate post-war years found ways to voice their concerns, from voting to education, and minister to one another needs and complaints.
Vicky, who wrote that book?
Who wrote the book itself was the name of the author of the book Francois Hamlin.
What year they write it?
Let me see.
On the second page?
It does not say the year that they wrote it, but I'm saying it was by Francois Hamlin. I was trying to see the year that they wrote it because it had to have been.
That's on the copyright page.
Yeah, it's on the cover.
It's on the second page in the book, usually.
I still don't see a year, but I saw the I was at one of those lunchtime Wednesday lunchtimes at the
If it ain't on the second page, it should be on the third. It say copyright and the year. I'm gonna see if I can find it.
here, let me say here.
It says 2012.
Well, that's what I was looking at because that's when I got it in 2012
Yeah. Okay.
from the guy who wrote the book, Francois Hamlin. I got it from him. He signed it where I was. He signed it September 19th.
You met him?
Huh?
You met him, the author?
Yeah, I met him. Yeah.
Okay. In Jackson?
Yeah, he was at that, that Wednesday lunch meeting at the
History's Lunch.
Yeah, history lunch. He was there.
Oh, okay. So he's French.
Well, yeah, he's French.
Okay, then.
When
you get to your stopping point, I'll start reading this one.
What now?
When you get to the stopping point, I'll start reading this one.
I'm at a stopping point. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you see this one? Freedom Bed.
Okay. I said, okay, I see it now. Yeah, Freedom Road.
See the design? Look at them. You see that design?
Okay.
1840.
Hold the page up a little bit higher.
You see it?
I see now. Yeah.
The true story of a Kentucky slave who fought for his freedom and became one of Cincinnati's most important furniture makers. He was a skilled furniture maker and he fought his freedom And a white man patented this design. This design is still in population.
Uh,
I thought that was just amazing.
uh-huh.
His name was Henry
Oh,
Bloyd. Okay. This book is dedicated to the most creative woman I know. That's Miller. I mean, the author, Whitney L.B. Miller. And this is the first page right here.
oh, okay. Okay.
My mother was a slave. His mother was a slave, and his father, a white man, owned them both. That was the situation many times, wasn't it? His mother was a slave, and his father was a white man who owned both he and his mother.
Yeah.
Though he was born to slavery, from an early age, he would know two worlds. Freedom was in his father's home, so close he could taste it. But Henry was black, and black men in Kentucky were not free. Okay, you see it.
Yeah. I see it.
I don't know what they. Oh, that was they were pulling weeds. When Henry was 5, he started working on the hemp farm. Hemp in Kentucky, hemp was the crop that made landowners lots of money. Farmers used hemp to make ropes that were used for all kinds of industries, from farming. Excuse me. Oh, I didn't know you could make rope out of hemp. In the spring, here and other slaves would sew hemp seeds by hand. In the summer, they would go row by row, pulling weeds that grew through the crop, pulling it by hand. Left here with his arms sore and his hands cracked. His back hurt from bending over all day. But that didn't matter because every morning they were back at it, full of weeds, day in and day out. Wow. It really described how hard it was. When the leaves turned brown and began to fall, Henry knew the harder work was coming. Here it is. Big, I'll let you read.
Okay. Early post-war organizing. The National NAACP always had an imbalanced relationship with the state of Mississippi. So much so that in May of 1948, Gloucester Current, National Director of the branches of NAACP, wrote to Executive Secretary Walter White cautioning that the state is devoid of a spokesman, white or Negro, who can speak out against Governor Fielding. Wright, who that year would be vice president candidate to the Dixiecrat revolt and appeared on statewide radio advising Black people in his state to go elsewhere if they contemplated eventually social equality. The following year, in March of 1949, Bell Williams, congressman from Magnolia State, from the Magnolia State and devout Dixiecrat, published an article in Speakers of the Magazine, but in the threat to civil rights, expounding the internal communist attack driven by selfishly organized minority groups. Did you know the NAACP was communist attack? Did you know the NAACP was communist? Expounding on the internal communist attack driven by selfishly organized minority groups. He tapped into growing national hysteria generated by the escalating Cold War hysteria that would be used against the civil rights organizations. Through the consciousness of the racketeers who had these specialists practicing groups, Williams wrote, "They are asserting their political strength as never before, attempting to bring about forced alignment of the white and Black races. The virulent racism of Wright and Williams and the ever-present threat of white violence inspired, intimidate many Black people into the public silence. Yet current misjudged the existence of the local African-American agitation, lamenting the absence of one clear spokesman in Mississippi. He had overlooked the leader of the working long hours within the Black communities, discreetly, safely, and general view, local Black civil rights groups worked to improve the members of the life choices and the ever-giving opportunities which were lacking available. The organization rose and fell of visibility and activity and membership, shifting depending on the ebb and flow of success, activism, and leadership. Flexible loyalties, alliances, and organizations help local people adapt to the current crisis and pool resources together quickly as needed. It helped them survive within the 4 years of current communist local leaders would become more vocal, visible, and public. Many would gain national recognition. During the war, the most dominant Black activist organization of which the NAACP had remained predominantly middle class and in membership, legalistic in strategy. Conventional political lobbying in Washington, D.C., the end produced gains, and the courts eventually provided the NAACP with its most enduring success. It chose the case and carefully selected plaintiffs who could withstand the pressure and the prolonged public battles and the inevitable recrimination. Likewise, then thinly spread resources and staff. National Office of the NAACP concentrated its attention on certain cases and places and a fighting chance. It seemed safer and more expedient to make the courts of law a battleground than see the bloodshed of the World War replicate itself in the streets and fields of America. The organization would remain somewhat stuck in the model, subsequently drawing criticism from the media, action, congressional resources, and personnel outside the Deep South, and building up current branches of the white institution mainstream. A strong base work in the NAACP sustained resurging members and figures due to the war. While the NAACP membership of these NAACP membership, there is less robustly, although World War accelerated urbanism and industrialized its own country. The South especially benefited enormously from huge injection of resources and jobs. The economy still ran on the low range labor of the undereducated Black working class. In addition, the ever-present and real fear of losing a standing in violent society dominated by the codes of Jim Crow and the white African American middle class caution. Most opted to work improving conditions of the system rather than overhauling. The first option was radical. Second, is that somebody? Oh, the first option was radical. The second, potentially fatal, as the Black South waited in the opening of the national level. The effects of cracks in the white supremacy had become more visible. The NAACP legal strategies abet restriction to the few signature cases of Jim Crow. First, audible death knell, Smith versus Allwright, Morgan versus Virginia, Seattle versus Painter, McLaurin versus Oklahoma, Henderson versus United States. In 1950, extracted the legal extracted the legal and climate segregation in the Superior Court, it increasingly confirmed that the segregated institutions were not equal. Joining forces in the President Truman, 1947, President Committee Civil Rights Report to secure the rights and the publications like Gerner Maydiel in 1947, American Diploma, the life expectancy of the white supreme, at least at the end of the level, seemed too shortened. National improvement during the war had passed over the Delta, and many World War II Black veterans returning home enacted a dismay. They found out the German prisoner of war had been shipped to the United States, and 10 caps formed the Delta. 1944, Camp Como in northern Mississippi had a satellite camp in Clarksdale where prisoners were sent to work in the cotton fields. The replacement of the Black men also oversees the fight them. German prisoners enjoyed better treatment than the darker skinned Americans who had toiled their intolerable conditions. A son of Joseph Mendez.
Vicky, can you come to a break so that we can let Elsie read?
Oh, okay. Okay. A son of Joseph Mendez, a prisoner held in Clarksdale for 1 year and 44, visited in 1980 after his father had gushed about region. Menendez remembered the Delta, a land where cotton grew in abundance and the people were warmed summer evenings, and said wonderful things about Mark Heyman, the owner of the plantation on which the labor no African Americans could gush about their existence on the plantation, and the Black GI bustled insult to their patriotic service. Okay.
Okay. Okay, well, good to see you, Elsie. What you reading today?
Hi, Miss Meredith. Hi, Miss Jenkins.
Hello,
Hi.
how are you?
Well, I know we don't have much time left, right, Miss Meredith?
Yeah, that's okay. We got 30 minutes. That's a long time when you read.
Yeah, I'm trying to work on this book. It's called Success Intelligence.
Success Intelligence.
Yeah.
Robert Holden.
Yeah.
Oh, so you got what kind of, is that a college book or it's a professional book?
I think it's like a professional book.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But I'm not getting much far in my reading, with life.
Oh yeah, how far you done got in this book?
Well, it doesn't really go by chapters. It's just going. It doesn't have like chapter 1 or whatever. It just talks like I'm here. Authentic success.
Uh-huh. It
Yeah.
almost looks like a textbook. Like, it
Yeah.
almost look like, uh-huh.
Yeah, it's this guy who like stopped working and just started to do seminars on how to be successful, you know, so.
Okay. And
Yeah.
how was Michelle doing?
Michelle is graduating elementary school and going to high school.
Oh my goodness. She gonna be
Yeah.
in the ninth grade?
Huh?
Is she gonna be in the ninth grade?
Yes, yes, yes.
Is she
When,
gonna get in the spelling bee this year?
I don't know, I will talk to her.
Yeah, cause she can get the word list and get her ticket holiday. I'm gonna put it in the chat so you can get it.
Yeah, when is it again, Miss Meredith?
It's the Saturday after Thanksgiving every year. And
Okay,
so she should start studying the words now.
yeah, send me the list because my son wants to enter.
Oh, he does. And
Yeah,
what grade is he?
let me see. He's going into like fourth grade.
Okay, fourth grade.
You
Okay.
guys have that or no?
Well, I get it. I put it in the chat so you can get it out.
Okay,
You know how to get something out the chat, right?
I think so.
I'm gonna go get it now while you read it, and I have.
Yeah, the last time you emailed it to me.
Okay. Well, I do that then. I email it to you.
Yeah, you emailed me the different lists for the different levels.
Okay. I'll do that. I'm going to find it while you read.
You want me to begin reading, Miss Meredith?
Yeah, go ahead and start
Okay.
reading.
It says your goal is to find out who you are. Peter was a chief scientist of NASA. He was in his mid-40s. We had first met on a 3-day leadership seminar. He telephoned me 9 months later to request a private one-on-one coaching session. When we eventually met, I began by asking Peter what he wanted from our time together. He said, I am here because I have been given a second chance. Peter told me how he had survived a heart attack only 2 months earlier. It happened suddenly without warning. He was at a conference in his hotel room dressing for dinner when, in his words, I felt my heart exploded inside me. A colleague found Peter lying on the bedroom floor. Peter said I was rushed to the hospital and operated on immediately. The surgeon said if the hospital had been 15 minutes further away, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you now. I would be dead. Peter was visibly shaken as he recounted his near-death experience. He became even more nervous as he told me during the operation to save my life, I had an out-of-body experience. I actually saw the whole thing. I could hear everything they said. Peter had heard of a department of NASA that research out-of-body experiences, but he had not believed they really happened. Understandably, he was somewhat surprised. I told Peter I was familiar with the research to reassure him that it was okay to talk about it. He continued as I floated over my body. I became aware I was seeing images of my life projected on a shimmering silk screen in front of me. I saw myself growing up, attending school, meeting Deborah, Peter's wife, bringing my son Neil home for the first time, moving to Washington, D.C., everything. Peter hadn't even told his wife about his experience, and he was clearly very unsure of himself as he spoke. What Peter told me next was most remarkable of all. He said, as I watched the film of my life, I sensed something was missing. At first, I wasn't sure what was missing, but finally I saw that it was me. My life has been about everybody else, not me. It has been about my work, not me. It has been about research, not me. It has been about income, not me. It's like I haven't really been present in my own life. I asked Peter, how could that be? He paused for a moment and then said something I will remember forever. He said, I think I just got busy. Peter was a knowledgeable man. He had a PhD in astronomics and had studied celestial mechanics, gravitational fields, the internal structure of planets and stars. He was conversant in cosmogony, which is the study of the origin and development of the universe. And he was also an expert in the technology that can send astronauts into space. He could write a dictionary of physics, not just read one. As I got to know Peter, it was clear he could speak eloquently on almost any subject except one, himself. In our maniac society, it's easy to become strangers to ourselves, just as Peter had. Our rapid, unrelenting schedules demand so much of our energy and awareness. Time flies, and we are so busy with our projects, plans, and Palm Pilots that there is no time for reflection. We attend to what is in front of us, not within us. Our drive for achievement and recognition demands that we override our feelings, our wisdom, and our exhaustion just to get through another day. 90% of the world woes come from people not knowing themselves, their abilities, their frailties, and even their real virtues. Most of us go almost all the way through life as complete strangers to ourselves. I'll stop there for a minute.
Okay. All right. I'm reading Freedom Bed.
Okay.
It's a new children's book I bought. I heard about Henry Boyd. Can you see this chair?
Yes.
An enslaved African designed this chair in 1840. And this design is still being sold.
Oh, wow.
A white man got the copyright to the chair for him because, Black people couldn't get a copyright in that century, in 1800. But this is how this is. Can you see the bed?
Yeah, I see the bed.
Oh, wow. That's a beautiful design, too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when the leaves turned brown and began to fall, Henry knew the harder work was coming. Every day was cutting and stacking the stalks. No one could go home until a field and a half was complete. The work was hard, but Henry always found the joy. His favorite part would come right before spring. Then he got to use the brake, the farm's wooden machine that removed the fibers from the stalk. A brake has boards that intermesh as the handle comes down. This action breaks the hemp so the fibers can be removed from the HUD, the wooden center of the plank. Do you see the machine he's using? It looks like wood. And they actually make rope out of hemp. Henry loved the brake. He loved that it started as a tree, that someone was able to make it into something he could use to make his life better. One day he thought, I will make useful things out of wood. Okay, so that's the process before he got to where he became great at something. When Henry was a teenager, his father called him to the big house. His father said there were too many slaves on the hemp farm, so Henry had to leave. Henry was to be hired out to work at a Virginia salt works. A few days after New Year's Day, he and other men from the farm would leave their families and walk the 150 miles to the salt works. Wow, walk 150 miles. His father told him there was an opportunity at the salt works to make extra money by working overtime. Extra money, whatever extra money Henry made, he could keep. His father was white and he and his mother and the other slaves. Henry thought, perhaps I can buy my freedom. Henry didn't show his excitement, but he was thrilled. He didn't know what to expect, but the idea of freedom was something he'd been ready to taste since he was a little boy. Elsie, in Belize, was your ancestors ever enslaved?
Well, they were slaves here in Belize, right? For the British were the controllers of things back in the day here, right? They took all the logwood and shipped it away, and they had slaves here, right? But my ancestors were Africans who went to Honduras, right? So my grandmother was from Honduras, and she came to Belize, and then she migrated to California. So my ancestors are Africans, but I don't know but I don't know about all of that. But I know that they were a different set of slaves that came to Belize as well, that the English brought here, because we are under the UK, right? England. So right now they're trying to decide if they want to change the money and put the king on it. No, since it's no more queen and a king. But we had slaves in this country as well.
Okay, so did you see the coronation this morning? I watched some of it.
I only saw some pictures online because I don't fancy the king.
Okay, well look, you
I
said
love
Hail to the king.
I love Diana, and whatever happened there, no, I'm not.
so
I'm
you
still
don't hail to
holding.
Camilla, huh?
No,
Well, let me ask
no.
you this: you said that they want to put his face on the money. Whose face is on the money now?
The queen.
Queen Elizabeth. Her face is on the United Kingdom currency.
Well, it's on our money here in Belize.
Our money.
Yeah, so
Wow.
they would have to change up all the money and put king, right? That's gonna be a whole lot of, they'd have to like scrap all the money and start over again.
Oh, I see. I see. Wow.
But I mean, I respect it, but I don't like what happened with Diana. So I'm still holding a grudge against whatever they did to her. Yes.
You like Megan?
Yes, I like Megan.
Yeah, I do too. I like Megan.
Yeah.
But they wasn't there, huh?
I really don't know what's going on with that family.
yeah, we gotta get the book.
The thing is, Miss Merida, when you're when you're a mixed breed, it's so difficult, right? Like for me, my grandmother is Black, and my mom's mom is Black, and then her dad is Portuguese, right? And then my dad is mixed with Black and German and all this stuff. So growing up, when I was in school and stuff, like I'd say like I can't fit in with the Black because I'm not Black enough. Then I can't fit in with the white because I'm not white enough. So I know how Megan feels.
I heard that.
So she did the right thing moving to California.
Yeah. I wrote a poem. I call it The Seed of Confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see her husband there either. They said he was gonna go. Did you see him?
I
I
saw,
saw on the news that somebody saw that he was there, but I was he there, Vicky?
yeah, I saw him standing around. Yeah, he didn't get in the, yes, yeah, he was
He
there.
wasn't in the carriages, but he was there, right? I thought he was
Right.
there.
He was there, yes.
But Megan wasn't there.
No, she
No.
said she wasn't going.
Uh-huh. Is she expecting again?
Huh?
I
Is
don't,
she
I have
expect?
news about that. I know she just had the second one. I didn't know if that was another one.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I'm just
I
bad.
don't know. I just
Uh-huh.
knew him and his brother.
Second, huh?
I said him and his brother don't get along, and
Yes, it's just so unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
and
Um,
their brother came to Belize the other day. They had a Jubilee tour to all the countries, and some of the indigenous people in my country chased them away, said they don't want to see them, so I
They
don't
chase them away.
know. I don't know if you know the indigenous people, if you read any books about the Maya people, the ones
Yeah,
who
I heard
live
about them, but
the Maya.
tell me more.
Yeah, they're in Mexico and different place. We have them here, and they chased them away, the prince and his wife. We were embarrassed by their behavior, right?
Oh my goodness, I'm surprised that the military didn't, take drastic action, but they did know.
No, these Maya people, we were very shocked by their behavior. And then they went to Jamaica, and some people there protested about them. So it's not everybody happy to be under their rulership, right? Yeah. Yeah, people are changing their attitudes with the,
Towards a monarchy.
yeah. So I don't know what's going on.
Yes, that's how come Harry and Meta, how they got to come back, come to this country. So come back home.
Yeah. Yeah, they want to get out of that, whatever.
Oh,
Also showing everybody that they making their own money. Because they were living off, in the, in royalty. Now that they're not,
Yeah.
but they making their own money and they doing very exceptional. So
yeah, because they said that book, man, that book's selling all over the world. The book Prince Harry did.
You read it already, Miss Meredith?
Huh?
You read the book already?
No. I got so many books that I haven't read and I don't bought. But I would like to eventually catch up and read his book. But I'm writing too, so that keeps me from reading. But
Yeah.
I'm writing. Yeah. Wow. So anyway, it's always good to learn your culture because it's kind of different from ours.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, we don't have a monarchy, we have presidents
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
senators
That's
who take
another
all the
story.
tax money and
Yeah.
live good, just like they do. But they live in palaces and
Oh, yeah.
ride around in chariots or whatever, horse-drawn chariots. But I'm thinking we got about a 12 more minutes. You want to read a few pages?
Yeah, let me get a few pages. Hold up a second. Let me
She
get a
is
few-
really, she likes this book. She has dominated the reading today. So I'm just been sitting there. You know, she's from Clarksdale, Mississippi. They can show her that symbol in Clarksdale where you from of the crossroads. Tell her the story about the crossroads. She doesn't know anything about. You see the Highway 61, Highway 49.
Okay,
That's,
you see this? Okay,
yeah.
you see this symbol right here? That is called the crossroads where Highway 61 and 49 meet. And they said this is the home of the blues. You know that
Blues music like B.B. King.
yeah, home of the blues. That blues music, and this is where this home of the blues at that crossroads.
And that's where Robert Johnson was. Tell about Robert Johnson.
He sold his soul to the devil so he can get his music career. He's
That's
supposed
the
to sell his
legend.
soul to the devil so he can get his music career.
I don't believe that actually happened. I believe that he was an average guitarist. He went away for a year and he learned how to play real well. And when he came back and he was playing so good, they couldn't believe it. So they made up this legend and said that he sold his soul to the devil right here at the crossroads. That's how he became such an expert, great guitarist. But anyway, that's the legend. Is it true, Vicky?
That's the legend. I mean, that's all I know what as they say what the word was. Now, as you can see on this page right here, right beside I show you where Vera Picky is. You see that's a sign that says,
It said what?
forgive them for they know not what they do.
Yeah, I saw that. Now, where is that?
This is this was on the symbol on the wall of Aaron Henry's pharmacy. Father,
Oh, and he was, and that mess was about Mississippi whites.
right. Father,
And,
forgive
I
them.
see what
They
you're
know
saying.
not what they do. Yeah. Also, too, the mayor of Vicksburg. Now I told you I have an uncle named Piggy. The mayor of Vicksburg is his cousin. So now I don't
How about
know,
flags?
huh?
Flags.
Yeah. It's a cousin. Yeah. But Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Yeah. But yeah. And let me say here, real violence in words and deeds. Equal part of Brown validated the courage of the Black Mississippi enraged whites. A few border states quietly began the integration of the NAACP, won lower court decisions. But on a 27th day of May, 1954, a few short weeks after Brown versus Education, James O. Eastland from Mississippi stood on the Senate floor and declared, "Let me make this very clear. The South will retain segregation." Vicious reprisal from the state and local white groups provided fuel for the already blazing fire Aaron Henry during the era of 54 to 55, 1954 and 1955, became founding of the white Christian Citizens Council and served our members were targeted for extinction. Citizen Council emerged in Indianola, Sunflower County, but 60 miles from Clarksdale. In the summer of 1954, a direct result of Brown, native white African Robert Patterson, after a day tirade against the U.S. Supreme Court decision, went to work to save the South, organizing the first council explicit to prevent integration. Ironically, Henry and Patterson had known each other on more amicable terms. Earlier years, Standard Citizens Council recruited rhetoric heard of the popular white myths for the Black male rapists. When the NAACP positioned to court for integration, it was open the bedroom door of the white women to Negroes. You have heard that expression that say that if you go Black, you never go back. Technically, a white.
What does that
white,
mean? Meaning, tell me if you date Black.
Yeah, this was the white, the white Miss Sally's, quote unquote, was saying, if you date a Black man, if you date Black, if you go Black, you'll never go back. So if you ever date a white man, a Black man, you can never go back to a white man. If you go Black, you never go back. As
yeah, because they're gonna kill the Black man.
They're gonna kill the Black man. Also, too, it also says if you go Black, you can never go back. That's what it say. I got an uncle I know of somewhere around your area up in Lexington, and he was as I quote say, Mr. Charlie. Mr. Charlie had touched my Aunt Sally, and my Uncle Robert is his name. He had to defend Aunt Sally. So he had to take Mr. Charlie had to take his punishment. Needless to say, Uncle Robert and Aunt Sally had to move out of Lexington because Uncle Robert took care of Mr. Charlie, evidently.
That sounds. Don't say it, whatever.
Huh?
I think I know what you mean.
Well, yeah. That's the way the families tell the story, but that's what the family story is. But let me see. Tactically, the Citizen Council organized economic reprisal while publicly renouncing violence. Council leaders hoped in particular to destroy the NAACP. A declaration of war had been issued. On one side of the brewing war was Citizen Council and the state's white elected officials, and the state Democratic Party, white business community, and the more violent, vigilant types. On the other side of the NAACP, the small but growing local network places at Clarksdale, a handful of organizations like RCNL, hardly seemed fair fight. The Citizen Council never set out the Citizen Council never set out to be a secret society. Lawmakers in the counties had a state level opening discussed the Citizen Council, their persuasive tactics Patterson maintained. We felt our position could be defended without hurting anyone. On purely legal and constitutional grounds, councils with the largest members on the Delta had leaderships composed of the most prominent, well-educated, and conservative businessmen in the community, all of whom pledged to maintain segregation. The foreseer of violence, designed to be the gentleman club of respected citizenry. The organization publicly sought to legitimize the existence around civic duty and ideals separate from the groups like the Ku Klux Klan. The unidentified Yazoo County planters summoned, "We won't gun their cotton. We won't allow them credit, and we'll move out of their rented houses if necessary to keep them in line." Voters' registration records reflected the effects of the heightened anxiety. County registrars and continuing barriers to Black voters' registration tipped up the effort to enforce legislation, tighten voting requirements. By the late August of 1954, only 22,104 Black people were registered to vote. In the state Democratic primary, Attorney General J.P. Coleman ordered a poll of county registrars to assess the threat against segregation. The figures reassured him that he wasted no time releasing the report to the press. The number of registered Black voters represented only 4% of the state potential voters. Of both, 13 counties had no Black voters. Several more had a fewer than 10. Heavy Black voter registration existed in Coahoma County, 1,268, and Washington County, 1,783.
What year
And
was that, Vic?
Huh?
What year was that?
These were the number of Black registered voters.
What year?
1954.
Oh, yeah, they had 1,000 in Washington County in 54.
They
I
had
didn't know that.
Yeah, and let me say, in Coahoma County, it was 1,268. Washington was 1,783.
Washington,
Warren,
where Greenwood is, right?
right, Washington, so Greenwood. Washington County, Vicksburg had 1,480.
What about Hinds County?
Does not say anything about Hinds County, where numbers equal and low at 1/3 of these counties total. However, on the agenda of the upcoming November election was proposed state constitutional amendments to further strengthen voting requirements. And so that when they rolled the number of registered voters, and these were the numbers that the number of registered voters that they had received. Washington, further south, was not in that poll that they were used to.
Well, our time is up now, Vic.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, we done made it to the end.
Okay, we have to.
Yeah, so get together, first Saturday next, the first Saturday next is the first Saturday in June, but I sent the notice out earlier though. But I emailed you the ticket for your son and Michelle for the spelling bee.
I got it, Miss
Yeah,
Meredith.
you did, okay.
Miss
And
Meredith,
please
so,
share.
so
Huh?
when the spelling bee, like I would have to say, okay, he studied from like a grade 4 list and she studied from a grade 8 list, like that.
Right. They're gonna have different lists.
Okay.
And
So like the head of the competition will pull out that same grade 4 list or grade 8 list.
right. The words are gonna come from the list that the fourth grade word, the what they call it, emulators are gonna call out the words on that list for fourth grade. And if she choose 7 or 8, they're gonna call out the words for that list. And please tell other people about it. And the poetry contest too.
Okay.
Tell Michelle I hope she can write a poem because she would only have to write like 2 stanzas.
She had one the last time, you know, she did write a poem, but she didn't want to enter it again. She changed her mind.
Oh, she did. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. So she can just write something new.
Okay.
If she entered it before.
Okay.
Well, all right then. It was always fun.
Now you know I'm coming. I said, you know I'm coming.
Oh. All right then. All right. Y'all have a good one here.
See you later.
All right, see you later.
Bye.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye. See you, Vicky. See you later,
All right.
Elsa. All right, bye.